Welcome to Big Brother Basics, where we break down the basics of Big Brother Canada 3. My name is Jacob Harple, and joining with me, as always, is the most fantastic, most fabulous, most humble co-host ever, Keith Guerrero. How are you doing tonight, Keith?
I'm doing very great. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a classy experience being here.
Oh, always. I couldn't do it without you. So we have the fourth eviction episode to break down tonight. Pretty good episode. There's a lot more. We got a good insight of some of the players we haven't really taken a look yet. Greg left unanimously. We've got some twists, veto twists coming up. There's a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it, shall we?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the veto ceremony ends, and there's kind of a little drama afterwards, just about Johnny calling Greg as this bully. Greg kind of loses his temper a little bit. Bruno has to calm him down. So, Keith, we kind of got some different perspectives on this. Let's talk about Greg for a minute and his gameplay. Do you think Johnny was justified in calling him a bully? Do you think it was maybe just a strategy to kind of lower his reputation in front of everyone, or was it a genuine accusation? What are your thoughts?
It's always difficult because bullying is such a hot topic and it should never be tolerated. So you just never know where that line is. And did Greg cross the line sometimes? Yes. But I also think that maybe it's just because he's dumb and he's not ill-intentioned. I think there was previous house guests that were ill-intentioned and that's why they had a really bad reputation. But I think he's just an idiot. I don't think he's a bully. I think that he just made a lot of stupid comments that could be misconstrued. But I really appreciated hearing all sides of the situation, and I think that it was good that we got to see everybody's perspective inside the house.
Definitely, yeah. I guess my thing is I don't think he's a bully. I don't think he ever maliciously attacked anyone or put anyone down, from what I know, and this is just my opinion. Like you, I just don't think he's a very good Big Brother player. I think he was very aggressive. I think his social game was very poor, and he had a really bad sense of self-perception. And that aggressive nature, that emotional gameplay, I think can be registered to some as bullying. So I could see how some people could, take it in a way that they feel very uncomfortable, but I don't know. It's hard to say, but regardless, I think that Gray kind of put himself in his own situation, the way he did treat the others that weren't in his alliance, when he tried to get people to do things that they obviously didn't want to do. I could see how it could be interpreted as bullying them, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I would have saved the bullying card for maybe a later week if necessary, because you don't want it to be your first thing that you pull out when you win a veto as Johnny. I think that you could have said that he's controlling, he's demanding, he's really aggressive. There's so many other traits that were, caused the communication barrier between him and Johnny. But to go to bullying, that's the very last thing you'd want to go to. That's basically cutting off bridges, and this is what, week 4?
Right.
So I don't know. I think there could have been a much better term that Johnny could have come up with. But then again, they had their conflict, and really when that conflict happened, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think Greg said anything that was bullying related. He was just good move, Johnny. You utilized the conversation I had with you to Brittany, and now I'm upset. I'm telling you about it. But Johnny was I'm going to do what I want, and he interpreted it as bullying. So I don't know. It's very intricate, very complex, and you can't really say you're not supposed to feel this way. Your perception's reality. So I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go ahead and talk about Greg's, I guess, campaign, what he tried to do. Do you think there was anything Greg could have done differently to try and stay? Because I feel like just from what we saw in the episode, he kind of gave up, kind of let Bruno and I guess just Bruno try and convince other people, where he just kind of hung around. Do you think this was the right approach? Is there anything Greg could have done to stay tonight?
You know, even though it's not really talked about inside the game, just being nice, being kind, being pleasant to be around is a huge component of being inside the house. And so if you're like, even though we don't consider him like the biggest bully, like he's really hard to live with. And that on top of the fact that he kind of threw in the towel, was like isolating himself, was like kind of wishing that he was not in the house anymore. I think all those factors just led to him eventually being evicted. Of course, he could have done something. I mean, he was comfortable inside this Chop Shop alliance, and when the going gets tough, he completely quit. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. Yes, Bobby's inside the Chop Shop, but you need to play for your own game. You always need to play for your own self-interest. And if your thing is that you're a target, make sure that you let everybody know, hey, I'm going to be a target not only this week, but next week and the week after that. Keep me in. I can absorb that sunlight, and people like Willow, Ashley, Zach even, like Jordan, like they can all like hide underneath me while I'm being the main target. I want to fall for you. Like let me be that person so that you all can all like last a little bit longer than me. And
Hmm.
so I don't know. I think that he could have played his cards differently, but he kind of gave up as soon as he was backdoored.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that argument, the keep me, I'm the bigger target, was definitely the best, I think, angle that he pushed, or as well as Bruno pushed. And so let's talk about that, I guess, if you're a member of the Chop Shop. Do you think that the move was to keep Greg? It seemed like the only person that was really interested in keeping him around was Bruno. Why do you think that was?
Well, they're still in the honeymoon phase of the game. Like they want to vote people out based on likability. Cindy, Neha, and Risha were not that likable with the people that were in the like in the power positions, so that's why they all got eliminated. But when it comes to Greg, they could potentially expose their Chop Shop alliance if they're saying, like we want Greg to be at the target because that will keep the shine off us, but they want to keep it secret. So then, like it would take a lot of work convincing the other people that are not in the Chop Shop to be like, hey, what do you think about keeping Greg because he's going to be a target? Not to mention that Brittany, Sarah, and Johnny all want Greg out adamantly. Like they've had this master plan and like this backdoor thing, so they're definitely not going to be on board. So why would you want to not give the HOH their wishes? It's kind of like karma. Like you think if you win an HOH, maybe the house won't do what you want. So, and Greg is like really like he gives every reason to evict him, and he doesn't really provide any sort of justification to keep himself in safe.
Hmm.
So all those factors kind of led up to it.
I agree. And I think that another thing to look at is, there are people in that alliance, namely, I guess, Zach, who are definitely playing the middle, playing both sides. And in order for them to effectively, keep that position, they really can't piss off one side or the other. And by keeping Greg, they would be showing their cards, I think, just a little bit too early. And, there's not a 100% guarantee that they would still go after Greg. Um, and by, like, let's say Zach and JP and Kevin made this big move, rallied up the votes, took out Greg. Well, now that exposes to Sarah and Brittany that these guys definitely lied. They now can out them out for creating an alliance with them or siding with them when they were in power, and it just puts people like Zach, JP, and Kevin in just really messy situations. I think really the only people that would have definitely benefited from Greg saying would be Bruno, and that's it. The only because I think the next because as far as like Sarah and Brittany and Johnny, I think their next target is probably going to be Bruno and Bobby, and obviously Bobby doesn't want Greg to stay, and so that's why we kind of only saw Bruno making that big push. And so I think it's just about keeping that position of floating in the middle, staying in good with a lot of the players in the house, and I think it's just a little bit too early for them to be drawing a line like that.
Completely agree. It's all about timing, and it's way too early to try to ruffle some feathers when it's completely unnecessary, and the person on the block is developing a case for them to be evicted.
Hmm. So, since we kind of talked about it, I want to talk about Bruno because Bruno is someone that you and I have touched on a little bit, but tonight was really the first time that we got like a lot of game talk from Bruno. So I want to know what your thoughts are on him as a player.
My gosh, Bruno, you are so impressive. What really shocked me, because like his obvious alliance was Greg, in my opinion, but then the fact that Bobby inside his confessional said that Bruno's my number one ally, I trust him with everything, that made me think that Bruno's playing an excellent social game. I think that Bruno's doing exactly what he needs to do. He made both people feel like he was on their side the entire time. And then, just like I called it, he's going to go with the house. He's going to be like it was a unanimous eviction tonight. So, like, he's playing all his cards correctly, and I think he's going to be a dangerous player. I was really glad to kind of get inside his head a little bit. And there's so many different aspects of this episode where Bruno, he tried to make the argument for Greg without like completely going out on a limb for him. Like he's just testing the waters, and that's kind of what you want to do. Just like put a lot of different ideas on there, like just in case people don't think of certain things. But he's also not going to like sabotage his own game to do that. So there's a lot of different layers to Bruno's games. I don't think we've seen like I think we only seen like just the outer part, and there's so much more that he can offer.
I agree. I agree. I love the part where it's him and Bobby are talking, and Bobby's like, just try and make sure that the argument of keeping Greg because he's a big target doesn't come up, and Bruno's like, okay, okay. And then he's talking to everyone in the chop shop, plus like JP, and that's like the thing that he starts pushing. So it's just funny, and I like what he said where it's like, all that matters is that whichever one of them stays thinks that I'm still their number one. And I think he accomplished that. Uh, Here's my one fear for Bruno. I think his allies suck. So, like, I think his two biggest allies in the game were the two people on the block. They were Bobby and Greg. Greg is gone. Bobby is not the greatest player in this game. And, it's one thing to have allies that are big targets or people that are going to go for you, but you also want to keep allies that, excuse me, are good at the game, are going to be here a while. If you put all of your eggs in this basket and then your basket's gone by like week 5 or 6, then he's just kind of out in the masses without any allies, and he won't be able to make any move, and he'll kind of be at the mercy of whichever alliances are in power or are running the game. And so that's my one fear for Bruno. It's not that he's not a good player, it's just that he doesn't have the pull that he needs in order to make those big power moves and to position himself in a position to make to the end. I think it just depends on how long this chop shop actually stays together, and if he, how long he can keep certain players like Bobby, I guess, in the game. But I love Bruno. I think he's definitely underestimated, and I'm really interested to see what the next few weeks look like for him.
I think you brought up a really interesting point because he does surround himself by like crappy people. And he's like a good guy on a bad team. Like he's like a star NBA player on just an awful team. And he's dribbling down the court, he's making layups, but he's still losing like 112 to like 80. So I definitely see your point with him not being surrounded by good company. Maybe he can pull off like after being isolated from everybody and still surviving, because I think he will survive on the block against a few people. Maybe he could pull it off that he could wedge his way into some cracks of some other alliances. I definitely believe in his ability there. But I completely agree. He's like surrounding himself by not the best people inside the house.
Let's talk about one, I guess, his number one ally now, Bobby. I thought Bobby didn't come out so good tonight, in my opinion.
Does he ever come out good, Jacob?
He's had better episodes, but tonight was especially bad. This is bad Bobby tonight.
He just doesn't want to get any blood on his hands.
He doesn't want to win HOHs anymore. He doesn't want to get any blood. He's done. He doesn't want to play.
I'm surprised he even wants to play.
Yeah, seriously. So let's talk about that conversation. What did you think about that conversation he had with Brittany and Sarah about how, you know what, I just don't think I'm like into this HOH thing anymore. You know what I mean, guys? So like Greg's targeting you, right? Well, I'm not gonna win any HOHs. So what did you think about that?
It just made me think of Sarah's DR where she just like went in on Bobby because like it was so transparent how dumb that like conversation was. It was so stupid. Like he goes into the rooms like, I have your back. Greg doesn't have your back. It's just so elementary. Like he's better off saying while he's on the block that he doesn't want to talk game.
Yeah, yeah, and which is exactly what Brittany suggested in her DR. She was just like, take it from the master. Sometimes when you're on the block, the best thing you can do is nothing. So, and I think he just overplayed. And the worst part is since he stayed unanimously, he's probably thinking like, oh my god, my plan totally worked. Everyone buys that I am not going to win HOH anymore. I've got this house wrapped around my finger.
Delusional. He's such a bad player. He's very what I appreciate about him is that he's trying to play. Like he's doing the moping around thing and he's jumping up all excited in like corners where nobody's there. But it's still so like elementary. It's like a little kid playing Big Brother game, thinking that like they're so good when in reality they're just completely delusional, have absolutely no influence inside the game, and their days are numbered.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think of his speech? Probably one of the most. I don't know. I thought his speech was pretty transparent as well. Jesus,
Please, just go in. Just go in on his speech, Jacob.
I'm just saying, it was just like, it's like, who believes this guy? Like, who believes this guy when he's saying, like, I mean, I just don't think I want to win HOH anymore, so it's like, Bobby, you're staying. Like, just shut up. Just shut up. Like, he makes himself look like such an idiot. He can't lie. He couldn't lie out of a paper bag. So it's just like, it's just an absolute joke, and no one's going to take him seriously. He's glad that he's in this alliance that was formed on day 1, because if people waited till, like, day 5 or 6, they'd be like, I don't want to freaking work with this guy. This guy sucks. But
I think it was wonderful that Bobby actually thought that the eviction speeches meant anything, like it would have any influence or pull on the House's vote. But like we know, those speeches are just your last 30 seconds of shine in case you're going out the door. And Bobby, you're staying. What was the point? Like, There was absolutely no point. Just say hi to your family, that you love your dog, and that you'll see everybody soon. Like, That's all you need to say.
Exactly. It was just a little too much. Just too much. So let's change the subject. Let's talk about some other house guests. I think we got another look tonight at Zach and Ashley and their relationship, and I'm having a lot of mixed feelings about those two. I kind of like what I'm seeing from Ashley because I think she's starting to get a lot of information from Zach, but I'm definitely seeing Zach maybe just get a little bit too comfortable with this whole thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts about those two?
Yeah, like, I don't think this is a mutually beneficial relationship. I think it's definitely a parasitic one where it's harming Zach's game and it's really benefiting Ashley's game. Zach's a great person to align with, and that physical attraction between Ashley and Zach is definitely going to help Ashley's game, at least for now. And I don't see Zach going after Ashley, but I think that Zach, it's getting to the point inside the house where, he wants Ashley. He literally is like attracted to Ashley. Ashley's attracted to him. And now he's thinking with a different head, like we heard from Tom last episode. So even though they had that conversation a couple days prior, where they're like, you know what, now's not the time for the showmance. Like, all the cards are lining up for Ashley to really put a stone into Zach's flawless game, and it could hinder it. I mean, Zach's in a great position. Ashley just adds another difficulty in Zach staying. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it as well.
Yeah. She's got a lot of Zach in her hands now. No pun intended. She really.
You were waiting for that line. You had that in your mind. You're like, I need to start with this.
She's got more than his life in her hands. If you know what I mean. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't like it either because, Zach is someone that you and I have definitely been harping on these last couple of weeks. And it's just, the one thing you never want to happen in this game is for you to get comfortable. And I think that he's kind of getting a little comfortable.
Mm.
This relationship with Ashley could help him further down the road. It does solidify a bond, but it does paint a big target on him when his target was almost abysmal to begin with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm really interested to see what Ashley will do with this information. It would be really crazy to see her kind of use it against him in the late game once she realizes that she probably can't beat him. But as of right now, Zach is not a bad ally to have, especially when he's giving you so much information. And I really hope that Ashley takes that information and uses it to her advantage and puts herself in a really good position, which I think she's doing. So I don't know, but as far as that goes, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it. And if I was JP, I would be a little concerned.
See, like, I'm jealous when it comes to final twos, so if I see a little showman, they become my target. So if I was Jordan, I'd be like, Ashley's an issue. We need to get rid of her because she's going to do your thinking. And it seems like that's the issue. I think because I don't really know if Ashley's going to impact Zach's game so negatively that it dilutes his long-term goals of the Newport Alliance. It just makes things very cloudy, and it would make me feel, if I were Jordan, very like insecure in my position with Zach. So I would need to address it immediately. Like, Ashley, yes, she's an ally, but she's also going to be somebody that hinders your game, and I'm doing this for you. Sorry, Ashley needs to go.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Jordan just right now needs to just kind of keep a close eye on it, and if the opportunity arises, maybe sprinkle some seeds to try and get her out for the week. But yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's keep talking about Zach because they did like this shirt challenge, and Zach won, and he won $1,000 and a advantage in the next HOH competition. What did you think about this challenge, and how do you feel about Zach winning it?
I don't think Zach needed to win,
Yeah, it's
but I'm
just $1,000. Like, I don't know.
yeah, like the reward wasn't that incentivizing, and he doesn't need to win HOH next week, so like the advantage would I'm always paranoid about like HOH advantages having the $1,000 attached to your name. I would throw it personally. Like, that's the competition I don't want to win, unless my ass was on the line. Like, if I'm an outsider and I need that HOH advantage to like potentially stay because my days are numbered, I would definitely go hard. But Zach didn't need to do that. However, I'm glad he did compete hard because the next two that did best were Greg and Godfrey. Godfrey delusional ass thinking that he won, having a hanger without a shirt on, clueless. But for that reason, I'm glad Zach won. But I'm hoping that when it comes to the HOH competition, that because that was a pretty good advantage that he got, I just hope that he doesn't end up winning HOH. That'll just put too much of an attention on him, and he already has this thing with Ashley. Like, it was. I just would not have done that if I was Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal because kind of like what we just said, $1,000 isn't really like one thing. If you won like $10,000, I think that would definitely kind of be like, oh, well, Zach's got $10,000. But maybe since it's just $1,000, it won't really raise too many eyebrows. I don't like that he has the HOH advantage because he's definitely. I was like looking through the cast, and if he won HOH, I was like, I have no idea what Zach would do. Like, I think he put up Godfrey, but Zach has so many deals in the house right now. An HOH would absolutely kill his game.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to get the advantage, I would be really worried, because he doesn't know how big or how small the advantage is. If he's already got the mindset that he's going to throw it, now he's going to have to try extra hard to throw it. Is it going to be super obvious if he does? I don't know. I just think it was a competition he really didn't need to win, and I'm not sure why he tried so hard.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, I'm just glad that he got it and Godfrey didn't, because if Godfrey got it, I think he would have had a good shot at winning HOH. So kudos to Zach for winning. You get that $1,000. Thank you, OxyClean sponsor.
Did you like Greg's strategy of, maybe if these guys think I'm going to win HOH, then they'll vote to keep me in the house?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Jacob. Jacob.
Like, you know what, you
you
do you.
you already know what I think about that. Why?
Yeah.
Like, if you're already like a huge target, you want to minimize that target. You don't want to make 6,000 soccer goals to prove that you're a strong competitor. You don't want to win an HOH advantage because that just means that the rest of the house won't win HOH. Like, I don't know. You never know how big the advantage is going to be. If it's substantial, then that just hinders anybody else's chance of winning HOH. Why would you think that winning an HOH advantage would make people want to keep you inside the house? We got rid of Neha, who was a threat. We got rid of Cindy, who was a threat. I mean, come on. Like, you need to be as less threatening as possible. But he had the completely different delusional argument, thinking that his threat would be attractive. Sure, it could be attractive to his alliance members, but they're not going to expose their alliance. Otherwise, they ruin their own game. Like, it didn't make any sense.
I agree.
The fact that even had to explain it, Jacob, I'm
I
mad at you
know.
for making me explain it.
I'm sorry. I just, I wanted to talk about it, okay? So Greg gets voted out unanimously. And what do you think about his final speech to Johnny or the way he exited? What are your final thoughts on Greg? Because I don't think we're going to see him again.
It's just one of those things where like he had to have his last word. So he had those 30 seconds. He did the last jab that he could on his way out. But that's exactly why Johnny interpreted him being a bully. Like him saying like you need to just deal with your own insecurities. Like that comment wasn't necessary. You could have like left without saying that and it would have been classy and it would have been fine. But adding that little like salt to the wound is just like what was the point? What was the point of that comment? It was completely unnecessary. You're leaving. You don't even care about the game. Just go. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he just gave up. And the comment, I can understand if he wants to defend himself. I didn't think it was that bad. The only thing that I was just like, rolled my eyes off was when he pretty much said that even if he had a chance to come back, he wouldn't. You've got people in sequester right now that would kill to get back in that house and, at least pretend to be excited. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it, to be honest.
Yeah. I hope he keeps that mentality up because I don't want to see him back in the house. So when he said that, he wasn't even sure if he wanted to get back in the house. It just shows that he has a defeatist attitude.
I
It's
agree.
so good. It's so good because he was so cocky, so comfortable. He was put on Front Street by being nominated, and he gave up. And now even now he's out the house, like he wants to remain out the house, and I'm okay with that. Please stay
Yeah.
out of the Big Brother game. You can't handle it.
All right, so let's talk about the HOH competition. It looked like this giant obstacle course. I'm still not exactly sure what they have to do. They have to find letters and go through like all these like obstacles and what are they trying to do? Do you remember?
Yeah. So thanks to OxyClean, we
Of
have our
course,
sponsored challenge.
of
They go
course.
down a very fun slide. They have to spell out a phrase in order. Like, what is it? Like, fight dirty laundry or something like that? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And they have to find all these towels that have letters on them to spell out that phrase. And they go through such an intricate obstacle course. There's like a spin cycle with actual OxyClean suds, followed by like a ropes course or like sliding underneath the ropes. They have to squeegee their way through like I guess a squeegee thing. It's like a big car wash for humans. I guess is
Mm.
the way I could describe it. And then they just hang up their cloth to dry to spell out the phrase. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that they had like somebody from production show them what they needed to do because like if they explained it to me like 10 seconds prior to it being live, I'd be like, what are you
What?
talking about? This is very intricate, complex, and I have no idea what you're saying.
I don't know.
But I'm assuming they did it well because Zach and Kevin like knew exactly what to do. So,
Right. Who do
but
you?
that advantage,
Yeah.
Zach, is great. He's going to be looking for one letter when everybody else is looking for the same letter. You know, because
Mhm.
like everybody was looking for F, so those are going to be like gone really quickly. So like if you lose track, you can lose a lot of time because you're looking for the only F left. Whereas he gets to pick one out of like maybe 14 I's. And then he picks the I. And then he gets to pick one out of like 14 G's. We saw that he already was the first person to find the I anyway. And like so the fact that he was the first person to find a tile, the first person to hang his things up, and he has the extra letter advantage, I'm like, if he doesn't need to win, like he needs to slow it down big time because that
That
is such a huge advantage.
that's what I was saying. I was like, do you really like? I don't. He needs to not be winning, and maybe he'll wait and like he gets stuck on a couple of letters. He doesn't want to do it too right out the gate, but I don't know. It'd be pretty funny if like shop people are like start helping him find letters because he's already kind of in the lead, and Zach's just kind of, and then Zach has to be like, "Oh no, you're good. Don't worry about me." Like it puts him in a pretty awkward position. So I don't know. Who do you like in this HOH competition? Who do you think's got a good shot?
That HOH advantage is great. I think Zach has a fantastic job to win HOH. Um, I think Kevin's going to throw it, like despite him being right after Zach. So if it's not one of them two that wins HOH, people maybe like Sarah and Johnny who really think that they're on the outskirts would have a lot of motivation to win. So maybe one of them,
Right.
but I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I like Bobby's chances. He didn't seem to be too behind, and as believable as his speech, I do think he will try to win HOH. So, which would be pretty funny that he would just go through all that trouble and then win the next one. It just kind of prove how stupid the whole idea was to begin with.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's definitely, I think, a very important week. This is the last eviction before we have the return twist.
yeah.
So it makes this week kind of a crazy one, and not just because of that, but because we also have our next Twistos twist number 10, if I if I'm counting correctly. What do you think about these two vetoes in the final week before the return twist?
I actually am a pretty big fan. I think this is great. Oh my gosh, like the HOH can make so many enemies this week because of the forced veto. Like because of the forced veto and because of the double veto, like removing both the noms. So basically, veto's being used. That's what Big Brother Canada is saying,
Yeah.
which would be great for a Chop Shop member to win. I mean, like to win HOH because their immediate targets would either one of them would be automatically removed or both. So now that I think about it, Chop Shop I think has a good chance of winning this HOH. So I might be inclined to vote for both nominees being removed from the block. And even if Sarah or Johnny was HOH, hell, they have a lot of targets to choose from. So go ahead and use it on them too. I think that's the best way to go. I think I would prefer for both nominees to be removed.
I think that's what it's going to be too, looking at both. So we have one where both nominees are automatically removed. HOH has to name two people, or we just have the auto veto. So no matter who wins it, has to automatically use it. I wonder if they'll know that before or after the veto competition. What do you think?
Not sure. Not sure at all.
I bet they drop it after.
I'm already like fantasizing what the picks would be. Like if Sarah or Johnny wins HOH, I could see them going after, like Bobby, maybe even Kevin or Godfrey. But if like the double thing's used, I think that Bruno could hit the block and Bruno could potentially go home.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be shocking and amazing because it would I think it would improve the chances of Neha or Cindy getting inside the game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I would really hope. I actually hope that a Bruno eviction happens next week. Even though we were just talking so highly about his game.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I want him to stay.
I think it would be so juicy. I think he's the ideal fifth person to solidify a Cindy or Neha return.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So what do you think about all these twists? Because, we've had the public vote, we have the instant eviction, we have the return twist, and now we have the special veto. So if I'm counting correctly, that's 5 twists so far. What do you think about this season so far and their bombardment of all these Big Brother twists?
I expect the unexpected. I really enjoy it. I personally love all of the twists. Of course, the least favorite twist was the Neha's eviction, whatever the auto eviction or whatever it's called.
Instant eviction?
Instant eviction. That one was like, you could have waited a couple more weeks on that. But aside from that, I love all the other twists. It keeps things fresh and entertaining. It keeps me hooked as a viewer, and it keeps the house guests on their toes too. So I'm loving all the twists. I think they're great.
I agree. I think it's kind of like what BB16 wanted to be. Because remember last year when they were like, it's going to be the twistiest season ever, and it was just very lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
But We have a lot of super fans in the Canada House, and it's kind of cool to just be throwing all this stuff at them and definitely testing their limits and throwing wrenches into people's plans, which I think this veto is probably going to do. Um, so I don't know. I like it. I didn't think I would. I'm kind of against like a bombardment of twists. I think if you've got a great cast, then you really don't need to change up too much to have a really great season. But I think that it's making the season pretty enjoyable, and it's you have your highs and you have your lows, which I think makes for a really great Big Brother season.
Yeah, and I think it helps like people that have initial targets, like Kevin, like all his competition wins. The fact that Big Brother also has all these twists could potentially help his game as well. Like it takes the heat off of him for a little bit.
I completely agree.
I'm looking at Twitter. We have a question from Kieran at pandabear_tier. She wants to know, what do you think it is about the Chop Shop that makes them so unlikable?
That's a good question. I think there are multiple reasons. So many times in Big Brother, we see this alliance get created almost out of thin air, and it's very vanilla. It's always the same, like, we're going to steamroll to the end, we're going to stick together, and it just gets boring, and people don't like to see something just from start to finish run the house. And I think mixed with that, we've had people in that alliance who aren't the most likable. I think Zach and Ashley are pretty likable, but Greg was not someone that a lot of people were a fan of. No one's particularly fond of Willow. Bruno, I think, has a kind of a mixed reaction. I think he's somewhat guilty by association, and the same with Bobby. Like Bobby, just no one really likes him. So I think it's just kind of the people that are within that alliance. But I think that it's mostly because it's that initial alliance. They're running things from the very beginning, so people want to see a change. People want to see new people in power, and I think that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and another thing that makes it unlikable is that the people in Chop Shop seem to only rely on people within the Chop Shop. And great loyalty is awesome, but the reason why Zach is so likable is because he has Chop Shop, he has Jordan, he has Ashley within the Chop Shop, he has the Bermuda Triangle. Like, he is playing the game in so many other different facets, whereas the other members of the Chop Shop have a pretty one-dimensional game. They have, like, Bruno and Greg or Bruno and Bobby, like, yes, they have a relationship inside the Chop Shop as a Chop Shop alliance, and then they also have a relationship within it, but they're not expanding outside of the bubble of that is the Chop Shop. And not to mention, this gesture is completely lame. Please stop. It makes you so unlikable every time we see you casting an eviction vote. Please. That's like, it's enough.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little. I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever. I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of. I always feel so bad for Kevin when he votes and he does his portrait, and you're just like, oh, you are so alone, Kevin. Poor Kevin. I think Kevin might be in trouble this week, regardless of who wins, because if it's the double veto save, and like someone's target gets taken off no matter which side, it could just be like, oh shit, who I put up now? Well, I might as well just get rid of Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Kevin's kind of a target on both sides.
Yeah, because he's playing. Yeah, and I want to talk about that real quick because you and I think, kind of talked about that earlier today, how we feel about Kevin's game, and how he kind of wants to play the middle and wants to be throwing these challenges, but I feel like it's kind of maybe a little bit too late for that. He's already won so many competitions. He's proved to be a very likable character. Do you think that he's setting himself up for a mid-game backdoor?
It's tough to assess it. He just really needs to wake up and smell the coffee and like not put all his eggs into Jordan's basket. But Jordan's playing an excellent social game, so it's hard for Kevin to see past that. I think he should continue what he has with Pilar, and just continue that influence with her, but also involve her in like package deal scenarios. So like if you approach somebody and be like, hey, let's align, I have Pilar, you have this person, how about we just form something great? Like that could be a great, very interesting perspective. Also, as long as Jordan is like the Bermuda Triangle thing, Kevin could be in a good spot for now, because I want to say that Jordan and Zach are probably the most influential people within the house, and so the fact that Kevin has them, at least for now, is great for Kevin's game. However, if there's people on any polarizing side, whether it's the Brittany Sarah Johnny or the Chop Shop, Kevin's a candidate to potentially go home. So that's the only thing that's hindering his game.
I agree. I think he needs to be very careful, and I don't know. Kevin's someone, in my opinion, that really could get evicted any out of nowhere for me. Like I could see him getting evicted this week. I could see him getting evicted the next week. It's just, I don't know. He's playing a very dangerous game.
Yeah, and he's always like showing his intelligence, like with the have not room and him finding out the tiles. Like with him showing that to Pilar and Jordan, like keep that information to yourself. Knowledge is power. Like you don't need to share it with everybody. And so like he's winning all these competitions. He found out how like the sensors go off inside the have not room. Keep that to yourself. Like this is completely like stop proving that you're such a strong competitor both physically and mentally. You need to downplay it.
I know. Well, I'm very excited to see what will happen this week. I think there's a lot of possibilities. A lot of things could happen. I don't think anyone is safe, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you stay tuned for our recap on the HOH and nominations episode this Sunday. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Most Humble, at Jacob Harple, at Sarcastivities. Tweet with us during the show. We always love talking about Big Brother, and we love to hear what your thoughts are on the season. So thank you so much for watching, and stay basic.
Stay basic.
Bye.
Bye.